I'm facing divorce from my wife because I indicated that I don't believe the child is ours. I am 27, and my wife, at 31, just had our son few days ago. We've been living in different countries for about a year because of work, having a long-term relationship. At the start of when we started long-term, our relationship went sour and we separated for a few weeks, no contact. It was me who dumped her. After a few weeks passed, the feelings of regret got a hold of me and I contacted her and said I want to patch things up and we can save our marriage. It took a bit of convincing, but since we already had a pre-booked holiday in Spain, we agreed to take it. We had a great time, like in the beginning of our relationship. Had sex also, even though it wasn't like it used to be. After the holidays, we flew back to our respective countries. After we got back, I tried convincing her again to work on our relationship, but the nice holiday woman was gone and she was full of rage for hurting her. In a fit of rage, she said to me over a video call that it's not possible to fix anymore because she had already been with someone else. That broke me completely, and I hung up and didn't speak with her for close to a month. After a month passed, I couldn't resist myself and sent her an email of all my feelings and everything the relationship ever meant to me. She replied and said we need to talk. We had a call and she said she was pregnant. She said it was from holidays. I asked how do I know it's mine. She said she had lied about being with someone because she wanted to hurt me, and it's up to me if I want to be there for my kid and fix our relationship or not. Of course I do, even if the cheating part was correct. As long as it's my child, I want to be part of his life. The first ultrasound placed the date of gestation 1 day before her flight to Spain and about 4 days before we actually had sex, which was a little worrying, but it was not a red flag at the time. Over the next few months our relationship got better and we patched things up. I visited once for a few weeks for gender reveal, and we made plans for me to take 2 months off for the delivery. Delivery got closer and I flew over. Everything was fine. We spent the Christmas and New Year enjoying the last stretch of pregnancy, and I tried to support her with best I can. After the birth, when they released us from hospital, I had to take photocopies of the papers that the hospital gave us, and that's when I saw it. My kid's blood type was AB+. Both me and my wife are A+. We've been tested and it's on our ID cards. So unless it's a medical error or super rare case of chimerism, it's not possible. I kept it to myself for a few days, but I was dying inside and my wife noticed my changed mood. After a while I couldn't keep brushing her off and tried to explain to her that I saw the papers and is not biologically possible or it's a medical error. I never directly said the kid is not mine or she cheated. She blew up in rage, kicked me out of our home at midnight in a country I have no one, and said she doesn't want me near her baby and never to see me again and not to speak to her family either. We haven't been to register the birth yet and am not on the birth certificate yet. Before she kicked me out, I did take samples for a discrete paternity test that I submitted today. I'm not sure I took enough material for the test though. I will find out in 10 days. Am completely shattered. Was I wrong to doubt my son and ask about it? TLDR. I either blew my marriage over a lab error of blood types and will never see my son, or I will prove that my wife lied, cheated, and used me. Update. So a lot of people have been quick to judge our previous relationship as toxic for the whole duration and misunderstood some parts of it apparently, so I will give you a quick backstory. We met in Australia 6 years ago, both as foreigners. The relationship developed fast, and in 3 months we were living and loving together. We had arguments, of course, over silly things like who would cook while the other one made the bed, etc., but it was probably the most amazing time of my life. We could talk about everything in a civilized way, even if we didn't agree. It stayed like that until mid-2021. World was in COVID pandemic, and Australia was the most locked up place of them all. My wife's aunt, my MIL twin sister, passed away from COVID. My wife was always close to her, so she decided to leave pretty much overnight and leave everything behind, including me and the life we had built over the years. I wasn't ready to leave so soon, so I stayed for another 6 months to finish the lease, save money, and sell the things we had and go after her. For clarity, at that moment, it was impossible to re-enter Australia for non-citizens, so her decision was permanent. I love her, so I wrapped my life up and went after her to her home country, Colombia. I'd never been before and it was a big change for me. Everything from long gauge to culture to family relations was completely new for me. We got married in April 2022. I'd made up my mind about marrying her a year before. I wanted it to be special. After first few months, the excitement faded and I started realizing that I can't live in Colombia permanently. I just didn't get used to it all. The arguments got stronger and our relationship dynamic shifted. It got to a point early 2023 that I decided, for partially financial reasons, partially because I was unhappy with where I was living, to go to work in Europe, where I had great professional opportunities and I didn't need any paperwork. The plan was for her to follow after I've settled in, so we didn't plan to stay long-distance relationship. Now we get to the dumping part of our relationship that people are quick to judge me for, and it's true. I did say to her the words, "I don't see a way for both of us to be happy. Let's take some time and we can talk after we've had time." It was after she cut all contact with me for 2 weeks over a fight we had over stupid things. She just said, "Go live your life and I will live mine," and blocked all channels of contact with me. So yeah, in theory I did dump her, but it wasn't an "MO you bitch, see ya" situation. Now we get to the part of pre-holiday. The silence lasted a few weeks. After that I caved. I missed her. And I can see for some of you that time would mean fucking and drinking. For me it was going to therapy, working and exercising and working on myself internally and digesting when it happened. And the rest of the story takes place as in the original post. A few notes for commentators. Gestational age. Love how you're happy jumping on that one, and yeah, I might be wrong in my terms. Anyway, what I meant was her ovulation, if presumed to be the same as her constant cycle, was a day before we met, and 4 days before we had sex. And yes, I know it's not an exact science, that's why this by itself wasn't a problem for me. And it's also not the core of the story. Why did I confront her, and not just take the paternity test? That's exactly what I planned. I knew she wouldn't agree to paternity testing if I asked her, and to just say I want one would be really strong and would end up in a shit show. I did take one discreetly and planned not to say anything until I have the results. However, that same night she kept begging me to tell her what's wrong and why I'm so thoughtful. I suppose I can't hide when something bothers me. She was calm and lovely, so I said, "I will tell if you promise you won't be angry." So I explained to her that the papers don't match. It's not biologically possible for us to have a baby with that combination. I didn't say she cheated or the kid is not mine. I tried explaining her that it could be a medical error or they could have changed the babies. She wasn't having it and exploded, yelling for me to get out and that she doesn't want me near her baby and that I don't believe that the child is mine. I tried explaining that it's possible, and with what she has said to me previously about him having another guy, I can have my doubts. She couldn't see my point of view and demanded that I leave. Why I say she cheated? Because from our first days of relationship, we had an agreement of complete monogamy and that it would never be forgive her for either if they slept with another for any reason. She also swore after we met on our holiday that she hadn't been with anyone. That's why I took it so hard later on when she confessed in a fit of anger that she did. You can call it what you want, but in our agreement that was cheating. Also, let it be noted that when we decided to work on the relationship and to move past everything, just the cheating, I would have forgiven her for my baby and our future. And some of you were right to point out, the relationship has been toxic at times, especially over the last 2 years when our circumstances and situations have been in constant change. Don't worry, any of you will come to similar turbulences in your relationships. Not that long ago I didn't expect to be in this situation either, yet here we are. My husband's mom said something I'm scared will forever taint our relationship. TLDR, my MIL more or less insinuated that she thinks I'm lazy and I'm taking advantage of her son. Is there any way to move past this and get back the relationship I thought she and I had before? Context, sorry, long post incoming. My husband and I have been together for almost 9 years and married for almost 5. When we first started dating, I adored my husband's mom. She was incredibly easy to get along with and talk to. She drove an hour in the wee early hours of the morning to stay with me in the ER. I had a severe migraine and was waiting to be admitted in the hospital. She helped my husband buy me 2 new tires for my car when I was struggling, and I even asked her to come with me to select my wedding dress. I always felt so happy and blessed that I had such a great relationship with her because I love reading MIL horror stories as much as the next Reddit lurker. I also want to mention that my husband is not a mama's boy. They talk a few times a month, maybe once a week at most. 2022 was a rough year for us. I had to quit my job due to never-ending debilitating migraines, and my amazing husband covered our bills and expenses during that time. That August I had a total hysterectomy due to my hormones being what caused them. Good news! I haven't had a migraine since. When I got the okay go to start working, I had a fairly tumultuous journey trying to get a job again. I work in a pretty specific field to healthcare that limits what jobs I can be hired for, and unfortunately by then I developed a bit of a reputation due to my prior health issues, which also hindered my search. Every time I interviewed and didn't get the job, it was a painful knife to the gut, and I sank into a pretty bad depression. My MIL said a few things that bothered me during this time, but I chalked it up to her trying to be supportive without knowing how much it hurt me. She said, "Keep it up, girl. Think of what a great Christmas gift it would be for you and husband's name if you could get a job," and later I was hoping for a Christmas miracle. By this point, I'd been told by more than one company and facility during interviews that they'd call me when they made a decision on hiring me, and I didn't want to start the process of applying at minimum wage places and then have to deal with quitting quickly or stopping the hiring process due to getting a job within my actual career. But the thing that hurt the most was when my husband was on the phone with her and he had her on speakerphone. This was a common occurrence due to my close relationship with her as well. She mentioned my job search, and when he told her it was still ongoing, she said, "Why can't she just go out and work at a fast food place?" My husband shut it down immediately because he knew how hard I was trying to get a job that pays around the average amount professionals in my career field make. I have my bachelor's degree in this. I didn't go to college for nothing. I adore my career and I'm proud of my profession. It just made it seem like she thought I wasn't putting any effort into getting a job, and I was gonna just leech off of my husband for the rest of our lives. If roles were reversed, I'd do exactly what he was doing at that time. I'd take over expenses until he could start working again as well. But I already felt like I didn't deserve my husband, and now I feel like she thinks the same. That I'm a burden for him, and he's better off without me. First of all, was this an overreaction on my part? Was I being overly sensitive? How do I move past this so it won't poison every interaction I have with her? The holidays were tough last year cause seeing her caused me anxiety and I felt completely withdrawn from her. P.S. I'm happy to say that I'm working full-time again and I love my job and I'm incredibly happy. My husband and I are still happily married. ETA, I started my job search in October 2022 and started my new job February 2023.